Hello, 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 and thank you so much for coming back. I actually really want to touch on something that has very recently come out, and I want to talk about it. The Callisto Protocol is, technically speaking, a spiritual successor to the Dead Space franchise. Before we get into the meat of the subject, thank you to the patrons, subscribers, and the people who are subbed to this channel. Lord knows I couldn't do it without you. Really quick, the reason why I want to talk about the Callisto Protocol versus the Dead Space debate is because it's been outright said the Callisto Protocol is a spiritual successor to Dead Space, and it's made by the same person, Glenn Schofield? I feel like I said it wrong, but it is. The reason why Callisto Protocol has to be a spiritual successor to Dead Space is because it's basically kind of not really the same game. And I mean it like this. When Dead Space first came out, I played it. It was wonderful and it was great. And I'm gonna let you know right now, if you get really good at Dead Space, it's basically just, I'm gonna aim for the kneecaps and smash them. I'm gonna smash them real good. And it's not to say that that's like a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing. It's a very cut and dry horror survival game with an actual story behind it. Plus, the trailers that came out for Dead Space with the hauntingly creepy lullabies was amazing. Now, Callisto Protocol came out to underwhelming performance issues, meaning there was a lot of stuff wrong with it. Which is not to say that the Callisto Protocol doesn't have a good game. It is to say the industry has to cut corners sometimes for the sake of getting the game out early and on time for development. I'm going to let you know right now. I would rather you take 10 years to make this game as pristinely polished and great than cut corners and then we have another Keanu Reeves cyberpunk game where, oh boy, it's janky. Now, some people have said, oh, sometimes janky games are good. And I agree. Janky games are good when they are purposely janky on purpose, a la Skyrim. Skyrim is a perfect example of a janky game working. No, I do not think my horse can climb up a 90-degree mountain and, be fine. But whatever, we're not going to double check that. The playability aspect of the games is usually what people like about janky games, where the game is janky, but it's not janky enough that it's like taking you out of the experience. With more modern games, these now 10K, 40,000 frames per second video games, you can tell when it's janky, because all of a sudden you see people T-posing and sliding across the screen and you're like, oh no, that's not good. In older games, it wasn't that big of an issue. Fact of the matter was, older video games kind of really relied on the graphics not being really the main focus, is because you didn't really need them to be the main focus. You were there for the game and the subpar voice acting. Now that everything is held to this impossible perfectionist standard, unfortunately, games are really suffering from it. And it shows. It shows really badly how badly... I just said that twice. It's showing how bad the industry is because these games are beautiful and amazing. And it's, oh my god, so pretty. And then that's all anybody remembers is how pretty the games are. But you cannot, for the life of you, remember what the game was about, because until they fix everything, like a year and a half down the line, you don't really care about it. It's the reason why whenever games come out and people are like, oh my god, are you excited about it? No. Because I know there's going to be bugs with it. It's the reason why I like to play actually older games. One, because I'm actually horrendously terrible at video games. My Twitch stream will tell you that right off the gate. I'm bad at games. But I know I'm bad at games. I play them for my personal enjoyment. I'm not here to really try to entertain people with my terrible video game playing. I'm actually just trying to enjoy the game myself. The older games I enjoy is because, is it janky graphics? Yes. Is it janky music? Absolutely. Is it a good story? Oh, it's the greatest story ever told. And I love playing games because of that. These new games, if there's a story involved in it, I would love to play it. But I have bad eyesight, so if the graphics are just like, behold, you can see each individual eyelash on this main protagonist's face. Okay, I don't care, because I can't even see individual eyelashes on IRL people. Why would I care if I can see it on a data entry made into a person. I don't care. This is not to say that artists should not be heralded for all of the great stuff they do in video games. They should be. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time and patience to do any kind of animation, whether it's 3D or traditional 2D or people that make like little paper puppets. You guys are on a whole different level, paper puppet people, or even claymation. It is a lot of work to do art. Even writing is considered a form of art, but that's a different kind of art, is because I have to be able to write a story and make it coherent. Artists have to be on the opposite end of, I have to make this look at least good enough so people enjoy it. But you are allowed to make mistakes with art. But in this median for video games, if I'm being 1000% honest, there is no chance to mess up. There is no chance to have any wiggle room. And, well, Helen, you wanted to talk about the games. I did want to talk about the games. And here it is. If you've played the original Dead Space, or the Dead Space has just recently come out again for this year, like the remastered version, the original story of Dead Space is that it takes place in the far distant future of 2508. So, all of us listening to this now have long since been buried in the ground. We don't matter in this story, but we are playing in this story. And the reason why this is important is because in this current time frame, humanity has exhausted Earth's natural resources, so they've started to create ships that they call planet crackers to harvest other planets for their resources. It's the reason why the USG Ishimura is an elite spaceship that was a planet cracker and was mining planets. And because of all the him-hum-hubbity-boo of, well, basically the main plot of the game, you as Isaac Clarke have to go get it because you're an engineer. Politely, you fix the ships. The Ishimura unfortunately unearthed something that the universe was hoping and begging that had stayed dormant. BTW, there's actually a Dead Space, like, anime? I don't want to call it like a cartoon, because it doesn't look like an American cartoon, it looks more anime-based, that basically gives you the TLDR of what you missed in the Dead Space universe before you start playing the Dead Space games. Spoiler warning and graphic content warning, it's bloody. Whatever you thought, oh, the game was really dark, crank that up to 11. That's the, in case you missed it, part of the original Dead Space franchise. Now, I've heard people explain, oh, but the Dead Space franchise basically says that this great monolith and monster is eating everything. Yes, that's true. I'm gonna let you know right now. As far as a story goes, it's not a bad story. Considering what we know about space is like a single drop in an entire, like, ocean's worth of knowledge, of course there's going to be things we don't know. So it is not outside the realm of possibility that something like that has been happening in the universe for forever. There's not even anything that says there's other intelligent life. Now, granted, we always like to, in our stories, make it like, oh, we're gonna save everybody, we're the good guys. And the flip side of that is also, no, we're the bad guys. In this, the Dead Space series is basically saying, no, you are not the good guys and you are not the bad guys. You're food. You are part of a long, long chain of things that must happen in the universe for the universe to keep going. It's the reason why when people try and pull that nihilism bull honky, I get upset about it, is because if nothing matters, then it doesn't matter what I do. But I need to stress this. The universe is not nihilistic and the universe is not cruel. Just like an ocean cannot be cruel. It serves a function and a purpose in order to continue its lifespan. To continue life in general. That's it. My god, my nose is so itchy. Hold on. My nose is so itchy. Where was I on my script? Right. The universe has to continue itself, right? It has to continue doing what it's going to do, because that's all it knows how to do. You, unfortunately, with all of your life plans, that's great. It's wonderful. The universe doesn't care. If the universe decides tomorrow it's gonna whack a big ball of meteorite at you, that's the end of the story. That's just how it goes. But we as human beings, we make stuff real personal. Our story is important. Our happy ending is important. Other people's anything doesn't normally play a factor. It's not to say that we can't unlearn that, it's just, it's human nature to be a little bit selfish sometimes. And that's okay. Counterpoint to all of this, with Callisto Protocol being a spiritual successor to Dead Space, it's the reason why in the Callisto Protocol you fight the monsters you fight in it. Not because there's some great evil nihilistic corporation behind everything that's destined to consume the souls of its workers. It's not Amazon. It is a game that's telling you, you can go about your life all you want, but stuff like this, the universe doing as it does, happens. And sometimes that means you don't get to be the main character in this narrative. You're not even a side character in this narrative. You are one piece of a greater background character that the universe doesn't even acknowledge 90% of the time. It's because of what happens in the games respectively that now it is an issue. Now human beings are part of the greater, grander scheme of the narrative. From a writing standpoint, it's not bad. From somebody who's played these games, gonna be completely honest, even though Callisto Protocol is a little janky, the scares in there were a lot more like, oh, okay. It was more terrifying. There's two reasons for that. One, in Dead Space, there is graffiti everywhere on this spaceship that you're in, like, forewarning you of all the horrible stuff that's happening. Also, after you see I'm gonna be honest, they look like chicken wings sometimes, like uncooked chicken wings coming at you and you just kneecapping them. You kind of stop caring about the scares because you can see them coming before that. Callisto Protocol has a wider range of areas to be in, so you actually do have to pay attention because sometimes the enemies legitimately do scare you. But that's also coming from somebody who is a big baby scaredy cat. Even though I like watching horror movies in the middle of the day, I can even admit I am a big baby scaredy cat about stuff. So, take this with like a grain of salt. If you liked Dead Space and you can get over yourself long enough to play the Callisto Protocol, you're gonna make the comparison, oh, it's like Dead Space. That's not to say it's a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing to be like, oh hey, X thing I liked that was good is reminding me of it while I'm playing this Y thing that's new that I still haven't finished. Spiritual successors are not automatically, oh, it's bad. Spiritual succession can actually be, oh hey, that's dope. This might be whatever, like, expansion on the universe. Supposedly, and I have heard this, I cannot find anything that says it is, but supposedly the Callisto Protocol is taking place in the exact same time period and, like, timeline, just on an entirely different side of the universe, indicating that the original story of Dead Space with Isaac Clarke is also happening with the main character in the Callisto Protocol, whose name I have forgotten because I've only spent like an hour playing it, so I haven't really memorized the names yet. Also, I'm just bad at names. That's it. That's really all I wanted to say, is that if you would, please give Callisto Protocol a shot and try not to be too harsh on it, even though it's janky. Or you could do the smart thing, wait a year and a half, let them edit all the stuff, and then you'll be good. Or you would just play the new Dead Space that they, like, scrubbed and polished clean to make it look really nice, and then go play Callisto Protocol. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do. That's a personal opinion, though. And I'm a nobody on the internet, so you do what you're gonna do. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I hope to see you all in the next episode. Bye!